Hi, welcome to Understanding Conscious Cryptids with me, Kat Hansen, your host. Hi everyone, it's me, Kat. Welcome to my show. I'm going to talk today about reptilians, since that seems to be an interesting subject that I have quite a few requests on. Now, a lot of people don't know that there are 3 different types of reptilians that people predominantly see, and we're going to talk about each one of them, okay? So that way it's pretty straightforward here, okay? The first ones that I want to talk about are the hybrids, because I deal a lot with these guys. Some of them look like grays, but not all of them look like grays. And by grays, I mean the little aliens, the little gray aliens with the big head and the little spindly bodies and the big black eyes. Okay? These guys average, I want to say 4 to, the tallest I've ever seen is maybe just a titch under 5 feet tall. They have the real big heads, like I said. They have the large black eyes that everyone's so familiar with. These guys, though, have a slit in the pupil. So you're looking at a big black eye with actually a slit. So it looks like a snake's eye, kind of, only much, much bigger. These guys also have the little thin bodies, the sickly looking bodies. So that way you guys kind of know what I'm talking about. They also have anywhere from 3 to 4 fingers, and I think that's because they're a hybrid. They don't get the full hand effect here. Some of them have claws, and in some cases some of them don't have claws. Everybody's different, and they're the same way, even though they have like a hive mind and a hive kind of look to them. They still have little things about each one of them that's different. You don't get to see their bodies. I've never been able to really look at their bodies because it's kind of covered, Does that make sense? They cover up everything in their little clothes that they wear. They don't have parts of their body sticking out so that we can really, really look at them and adjust, and talk about them. It's just the way that they are, The thing that I do notice about them that I find really fascinating is the same thing that I find with clones. Specifically, when they started making clones, one of the side effects of them is the fact that they're stubby. Their fingers, their feet, their legs, everything kind of is stubby about them. And these guys, I am guessing because they are a hybrid, they have the same stubbiness to them, okay? I'm trying to think here how I wanted to say this. Reptilians in general, full-blooded ones range in a real variation of size, okay? They range from 5.5 feet, to maybe 8.5, 9 feet tall. Okay, they have this real strong, powerful body. It's just, if you've ever held like a lizard, like an iguana, for instance, a well-fed iguana, you're going to notice they're real muscle. They're real tough muscle underneath their skin. That's what these guys are. And no, I don't go out grabbing them and saying, "Here, let me feel your muscles." I don't say that. I'm just saying I have touched some of them, okay? And in doing so, I've noticed these characteristics that they have. Okay, they have real long arms, and they have pretty long fingers. They're almost fragile looking. They're 3 fingers and they're real long. And they're real fragile. And then they have a thumb, like we do, an opposable thumb. And it's also long. So I always wonder how they go about picking things up. I know that sounds cruel on my part, but I want to know because it looks so out of place when I have spoken with them. They don't look like they can pick things, like they have fine motor skills, but obviously they do. So, because I had iguanas for a long time, the great big boys, and their claws on their little fingers are very strong, but it helps them to grasp onto things. But my iguanas didn't have fine motor skills, so I just can't imagine these guys being able to pick stuff up and, with the fine finesse that they need to turn a knob or push a button, or I'm just not sure. Maybe, but there again, I just need to be quiet because I have long fingernails, that I have put on, and my kids always say, "Oh my God, I don't know how you work with those, Mom," but I do. So maybe it's just something that they're used to. These guys have usually, not always, some form of uniform on the reptilians, But here's the scary part about these guys, and a lot of people don't realize this. They shapeshift. So call it a chameleon effect or call it a shapeshifter effect. I'm not really certain. But these guys can project an image of themselves. And I'm going to use this as an example. Queen Elizabeth. I know not very many people know this, but some do. So if you do, bear with me. She came out a few months back on the royal website and declared that she and her family are not human. They are a reptilian. And that at some point they adopted the look that they have, and she's hoping, that the masses will be able to accept them in their true form. Okay, now I find this real interesting because that tells me right there, I always knew which ones were doing it, doing the shape-shifting thing. But the kicker here is how they are doing the shape-shifting. Are they doing a holographic projection of themselves, or are they directly putting what they look like, the image into our minds? Well, I figured out a while back that it's some type of holographic imaging that they are able to do. And, you catch them all the time in videos, people say, where they mess up, they're not doing what they should be doing to keep the form, hold it steady, the mirage, the image there. And it goes away, and for a few split seconds people get to see what they really look like, and they've caught these on video and everything else, and it's just really interesting to me how their brains evolved to be able to do this. Okay, now we also have the guys that are called the Dracos or Dracos, however you want to say it. I don't deal with these guys. I really don't. I've had nothing but bad encounters with them, and I refuse to deal with them. These are the guys that the Native American legends talk about them eating us, looking at humans for food stuff. And if you ever have cause to deal with them, you're going to notice some specific things about these guys. They've got the crested heads, more reptilian looking skin. It's got scales, but they're not scales. Well, as near as I can figure. When I've touched one, it didn't feel like scales. What it felt like was not as warm as myself, and the skin was smooth, was a cross between smooth and my iguana's skin. You know, it's textured, but I couldn't feel scales, even though it looks like there's scales on them. So either I'm just not remembering correctly, or what I thought at the time is these are just residual markings left over. The scales have gone, but the pattern has stayed, you know, through their lineage. And these guys are not nice, you know. Some of them have wings. Some of them have long tails. You know, they have spines, or their rib cage kind of sticks out. You know, looks like they're starving. You know, they have something that looks like a cape, but it's not. It's like a fold or a flap of skin that connects the arms, and so I think this is why they do wear capes, and they choose really bright colored capes of material, some type of synthetic shimmery type material. And I've always just referred to these guys as the boss. That's the way I look at them. They're very commanding, very knowing, and when they look at you, the vision that they give you is so piercing, you know, that it hits something instinctual in you, in us humans, and it says, you know, be afraid of this being. This being is really scary, because your body senses that, your mind senses that it can kill you, you know, or that it can eat you. And unfortunately, these are the guys that have been working with our government at some point, and are in the Dulce labs. And I know a lot of people don't believe in that, and that's fine. You know, it's just eventually at some point your eyes will be opened, and you'll finally understand where some other people are at, you know, in understanding this. But these are the guys that actively hunt humans, you know, and they feed on our bodies, and they also feed on our emotions. So it's in their best interest to literally scare the hell out of us, because the more, and this is what I figured out a long time ago, the more afraid that we are during our encounter with these guys, it's got something to do with the adrenaline coursing through our bodies, and then it does something to the taste. And I know that sounds really crass on my part and blunt, but that's the truth. It changes the taste of the meat. And so when they abduct people, they try to physically intimidate that person so that they're in fear. And if the person dies of a heart attack, you know, then that's like a main thing for these guys. They're like, oh, joy, you know, I mean, it's just like the best delicacy there is. So these are guys that I refuse. I absolutely refuse to have anything to do with, you know. I've had them contact me, I think it's 5 times, and I will not have anything to do with them. And I think it's in my heart, it's because I know that nothing is going to change these beings. They're going to keep being as evil and nasty and rotten as they are and looking at us like food stuff. These are the guys that go from planet to planet in solar systems, conquering it, killing off the residents and enslaving them for their own use, which is food, and so they have a pretty nasty reputation, and when people tell me that they are in contact with the Dracos, and they think that they're okay to be in contact with them, I always tell them, please, just for me, be a little bit more on your guard when you're dealing with them, because I see them for what they are, and I can only pray and hope that the person dealing with them sees them for what they are, which is evil. And they are very evil. They're not, I don't know how to put this, I don't believe that they breed with humans. I don't believe that. It's something that some people say yes they do, and I just haven't found that to be the case, because in my experiences with them, they are loath to touch us, to, they look at us just like you look at a pig, you're looking at the pig and you're like, oh, it's so gross, it's dirty and disgusting, I don't want to touch it. But at the same time, in the back of your mind, you're looking at the pig going, oh yeah, that makes ham, that makes bacon, pork chops, okay, I get that. I just have this sense when they're talking to me and dealing with me that that's the way that they are. So you can take that one, take it or leave it. I just really wanted to put that out there because people contact me all the time where they have encounters, ongoing encounters with other beings from other realms, and they think no harm is going to come of it. Well, I don't agree with that, because these guys, if they had good intentions, as I've said before, don't you think they would just come right out and tell us? Why did Queen Elizabeth have to hide everything? Why did she keep everything, her whole family, her whole lineage, keep themselves hidden from us? That's no good. Nothing good is going to come of that. I don't believe that. People keep things hidden so that way they don't get hurt, and if you really think about that, that makes a lot of sense, because there's only a certain number of the Queen and her family, very small numbers, whereas, the British hierarchy, they're around them, there's thousands and thousands of people, so they could have killed off these beings if they had known what they were. And I think that's why they stayed hidden, was because they were afraid of the encounter going wrong, going south, so to speak. So they stayed hidden. And now she's feeling safe enough in her lifetime, towards the end of her lifetime, to come out and say, well, that you're not going to like us in our natural form, but we hope that you can accept us in our natural form. And I'm going to put that link to that statement that she made on the royal website. I'll put it up in the description of this video, so that way you guys can go there and look at it and see that I'm not full of garbage. She really did say this. I want people to always have that ability with me to be able to see if there's any way to validate what I'm saying. That's why it's very important to me, because I'm a big cross-referencer. I cross-reference everything. As I said, when I sleep at night, I've got 4 and 5 books in my bed with me, because I study, and cross-reference, because I do not just take things at face value that way when dealing with these guys. If I have someone come to me and tell me, for example, that they've been exposed to asbestos, I will do everything I can to learn about asbestos. And I feel like that's important for people to do when we're dealing with these beings, because people need to be aware that these beings are here. All the beings that I talk about are here, and I think that if it's possible, people should be able to at least go to their library or go online and look up the fact that what I'm talking about has been seen at least once in our history. I never want you guys to just take my word for something, okay? Because the more you know, the safer you are when you're out and about in the woods, or your everyday life for that matter, because these beings don't just stay in the woods, they come out of the woods as well, and one of those things that comes out of the forests and the swamps that I've talked to you guys about before is Letiche. Letiche is a primitive reptilian, and he does live in swampy areas. Down south is a good place for him. He has made himself known, and when I say him, I'm talking in general, their species. They're about 7.5, 8 feet tall. They're just a lizard-looking guy. He's got the 3 toes. His footprints look very much like an alligator footprint, with the claws sticking out the top, and he does have a tail, so when you're tracking him, you will see the 2 leg prints, and then you will see the tail print behind, in the middle of it as he's walking behind him. These guys have the temperament of an alligator. That's a good way to put it. They've got the temper of an alligator because they don't put up with a lot of stuff. They don't particularly like humans. They care to be left alone. They have their own breeding population, which is very small. And like I said, people run into them in the swamps all the time. They'll say, "What in the world is that?" And it does. I saw a very good rendition of one on the movie Signs. It was really good because whoever designed that alien must have read or seen something about Letiche, because too much of the body structure on that being reminds me of Letiche. So if you want to see what one looks at like without having to go find them firsthand, go to the movie Signs and look at the part where he's watching something from South America, the news from South America, and you'll see one on there. And it just reminded me, when I saw it immediately, I was like, oh wow, somebody's been talking about Letiche. So, okay, I'm going to end this session. I think I answered everybody's question on these guys. If I didn't, please drop me a line and let me know. In the meantime, I would ask that you all hit subscribe or like on my videos, please. I would appreciate it. And if you have any ideas that you need me to speak about, let me know, and I most definitely will do it. That's why we did this one today, because someone wanted to know more about reptilians. So, if I did not answer enough on this one, please let me know. That's the whole point of this. I can elaborate for hours and hours on things, but I feel like when I get here and start talking that because I can't see you, so I don't know if you're yawning or if you're rolling your eyes, or So I just try to keep them as short as possible, and I can, always make a video here and archive it here. So we can have 10 videos on reptilians if that's what you guys want. It's just up to you. I ask that you let me know what you want, and then that way I can keep making the videos that you want to see. And in the meantime, I will call it a day and let you guys get back to your day and say thank you for watching me, and I will see you next time.